already know, man, it's Deion Dawkins, and you listening to the Real Deal Sports Show on the Beat 105.5.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Real Deal Sports Show, coming to you live like we do each and every Saturday morning from the Rock Pawnbroker Studios. We're here to get it in every week, talking sports of all sorts. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. Internet Passport. What do we have to talk about today?
Hey, good morning, Radman, BacSpin, and family. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe there to the show on YouTube and Facebook. And we have a theme for the show for today when it comes to, hey, we saw dreams being made, and we saw some people's lives possibly change negatively. It seems like when people say, hey, we outside, I said, hey, maybe it's better to stay inside, focus on what you have to do, and you end up getting drafted to a great team. And it's like the Buffalo Bills had there, but there were some other folks there that ended up having some trouble there as well. And this information is here coming to you live from the Rock Pawnbroker Studios. But man, Radman, I just want to get your opinion on these interesting facts that happened there. So Mike Vrabel says for day 3 of the draft, he's gonna have to step away to get some counseling, to work on some things personally. And it seems like there ended up being of some photos that dropped of him and Diannai Rossini that they were caught kissing in a New York City bar 6 years ago before this whole scandals. What is your reaction to that?
What? Man, that would have put him back with the Tennessee Titans. And remember, if people remember, as I do as a sports journalist, Diannai Rossini covered the Tennessee Titans for many years. Now, I think I'm almost certain she resides. She lives in the Nashville area. And that was her team that she covered before she ended up moving up the poll, and they ended up putting her on other covering other teams. But she covered the Titans back then. So it looked like her and Mike must have been getting it in back then, man, according to photos from that long ago. So it wasn't just a chance happening. This could have been something that's been going on for some time. And what that makes it look bad for all women reporters, it shouldn't. If you have some journalists saying, no, it shouldn't hurt all women. It should hurt this woman because that's a lack of judgment. You remember, she was writing an article allegedly about A.J. Brown might be leaving Philadelphia, about friction in Philly. You know, in so many ways you could be, as a journalist, put something out there that all of a sudden get wings going, and all of a sudden it builds up, and you have people talking about, wow, is A.J. Brown really leaving Philly? Where it might not even be true at all. But in this case, it's just not a good look for the journalism side, and she should have known better, and they had to let her go, which they didn't. She actually resigned from The Athletic, because it's just such a bad look as a sports journalist, or as a journalist, period. You cannot be fraternizing with a story, with a potential story that could lead 2 or 3. In this case, it could have led the Eagles to say, hey, that story's not true. Where is she getting this? That, A.J. Brown is leaving, we don't want him here no more, blah, blah, blah. Just as an example, so the journalism side is, in this case, is the key side. And you should have known better to do that type of situation. And it's just a sad situation for Diannai Rossini, but not for all women journalists. There's some great sports women journalists that I see in the locker rooms and at the different games throughout the country. These women do a great job of getting their sports done and getting their craft done and doing the right thing. So Internet Passport is just one bad apple. Don't make the whole bunch bad.
He ain't lying.
I agree with you on there, Radman. It's something sad. I think definitely when it comes to all the Patriots fans out there, I think your team from top to bottom, ownership, coaching staff, all that, I think they need all some types of counseling. But yeah, he's gonna have to take off for day 3 of the draft. I think it's interesting how it's only on day 3, not the first couple of days. But hey,
right.
It is what it is. What you got to end up doing. So I hope things improve for them when it comes to the family, worry about the kids and stuff like that. But hey, it is what it is when you choose to be outside. That's one thing why I end up thinking it ends up being crazy. But still, one thing there as well is that another interesting story that ended up happening was that this one a rapper named Ice Spice. There's video from TMZ saying she was out and about. She was inside of all places of McDonald's eating, looks like with an associate. And then unfortunately, they ended up having, I guess, a little bit of a kerfuffle where a third party individual came in talking to her and essentially assaulted her. She slapped her there in the face.
Wow.
Some arguments ensued. They went outside. But I'm wondering, Radman, the bigger question. When was the last time you ate inside a McDonald's, Radman? Just wondering. When was the last time you ate inside of a McDonald's? And what's your reaction to this incident?
Yeah, I think it's a shame that when you're a celebrity and people recognize you, your recognizable face, it's hard to go. You can't even go into McDonald's and have peace of mind. That's the sad part of being a celebrity. And for somebody to get in your face and you're trying to have your meal or have your conversation with somebody, it's like, come on, man, come on. This is just sad the way the world is now, that you can't even talk properly. You can't even have a conversation. You can't even sit in a doggone McDonald's. And to make it long story short, I haven't been to McDonald's in years until last Monday after I umpired the game. The game was so long; it was over 2 hours long. I think I was out in Kendall. Coming back from the town of Kendall. I said, man, let me hungry. And I actually stopped in one out there I stopped and sat down and had a meal. There was only with a few folks up in there. Everybody else going through the drive-through. So it was last week, the first time in over a couple of years, man. It had to be more than a couple of years. I don't think man, you're right. It's rare that people sit down and eat inside the spot. But that's funny though. Sad, but nice young lady. And you got somebody getting in your meal, you kind of enjoy your meal, and hear somebody coming up with some questions about this and that. Just like while I was eating my meal, I had my umpire jacket on. Some guy asked me about umpire calls, and so I said, "Oh man, here we go, man. Let me finish my meal, man." So I can understand how that can happen. Oh, you're an umpire? Hey, I saw this play. I said, "Oh man, here we go again, man. Here comes somebody." So I can feel for Ice Spice and. Hope they got the heck out of there and slapped the taste out of that person's mouth that was all that swung off on her a lot.
But more importantly, Radman, first mistake. You a public figure. You out there with the game on. You're just gonna have people ask you about umpiring. Ice Spice is potentially known around the whole world, and sometimes some people just want to watch the world burn. She minding the business, but first mistake, you're in a Los Angeles McDonald's. I said, you want to eat inside a McDonald's? I want to eat at home. Let me ask Bro Talk, aka Brother Bilal. Ice Spice was slapped/assaulted inside a McDonald's. Of all places in LA. And if you ever been, LA, has its good areas and bad areas. But you want to be inside a McDonald's? Just your quick reactions to that.
Yeah, I feel like anybody, no matter where we are, to have or go through unprompted, nonsense like that is, to your point about they're trying to watch your world burn. Their world is burning, and they want you to now participate in that world burning, because my dad used to say when I was a kid, man, misery love company, and so you can't give them an opportunity. And what's unfortunate about being a known celebrity anywhere is people are going to now, nobody's really talking about the person that now they might say they were wrong for going up and assaulting that celebrity, but unless people catch up to that person, the story is around the celebrity and how they react and respond. So it's unfortunate that you have people who will do stuff like that, because no matter what you might say about or feel about how my public persona, it don't give nobody the right to come up and put their hands on you. And when you you put your hands on the right one, and you gonna get exactly what you asking for. And now everybody gonna be like, oh, they wrong. No, like, you know, if I'm out with my family and I'm minding my business, you know what I mean? You know, there's a time and place for everything. That ain't the time or the place.
Exactly. We all know what would happen there. Someone rolled up on you, but like, you're like, all right, okay. We had to do that B to A.
Together, little. Oh, didn't we tell y'all not to mess with us? Didn't we tell y'all not to mess with us? Oh, yeah. We are going to the championship game. Let's go, you!
Yeah, in the church we call it laying hands.
Yes.
Laying hands, furniture moving, B to A, Lakers in 5. Whatever you want to call it. You got to be able, you can't always control how people are going to react. But one thing, like we said for the theme for today's show, they outside and they crashing out. If you staying inside, you could be getting drafted. You could be out here winning. You could be out here getting some of those championships. But if you want to be out here thinking you could do some different things with a reporter, eating at a McDonald's of all places, that honestly has me pissed off, man. That honestly has me pissed off. I said, at a McDonald's and you out like this, people know you. Get my food to go, man. I can't remember the last time I went to a McDonald's, but you know, to each their own. But one thing that I can say is that you want to end up being smart about. You want to be smart. Just like one of our people that listen to the stream. You remember the like, comment, and subscribe. Shout out to Morris Thompson on the Beltway. Good morning to you, brother, man. A diehard, one of our day ones, man. Basically family, Morris Thompson, man. Glad to have you on there. And like you said that left the comment, I read football at the end of the game, and that shirt comes off before I get in the car. Yep, because otherwise you never know. They're going to be saying some rude things. Ref, get off your knees. You're blowing the game. Oh, okay. Who said that? Next thing you know, they rolled up on you. I had some money on the game there, ref. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. This.
Yeah,
let me get out of here and be safe.
Radman can probably attest to this. You know, I know one of the things they've told my nephew refs, and he says that they're instructed, like, you get right out of there, because, you know what I mean, people gonna feel how they feel about. Now, you could call a great game, and the one call somebody feel like you missed or that went against their team, that's the call that they want to run up on you after the game about. So, you know, they tell you get right out of there.
Absolutely. And Morris, that's right. It was cold up here. I should have switched my jackets because I had another jacket in the car that I should have put on, but I still had my umpire jacket on because it was still cold during that game. And then when I went into that restaurant, I should have. You're right. That was one of the guard rules that I didn't follow. Morris reminded me, get that jacket off, man, and put a generic jacket on or something on. When you leave the ballpark. He's absolutely right.
Hey, it is what it is. Sometimes things happen, and even when if you stay inside, sometimes you may want to venture out. Maybe you want to end up grabbing a little bite to eat. You know, we had some players that get drafted. They have to fuel their body. But you know, they can order delivery, DoorDash, and they can order food, delivery, DoorDash. But one thing that you don't do, if you see the police behind you, you just pull over, do the right thing. You don't want to end up like T.I.'s son, King, out there getting arrested for possible drug possession while wearing a Pikachu onesie. There's a lot of things that end up happening there. But I was like, for a young man there in his early 20s being arrested with a Pikachu onesie on, and had to have his own dad have to come there and talk to the police. My God, man. Gentlemen, just Radman, what's your reaction to that, to a grown man who's in the public eye getting arrested with a onesie on?
Immature at best, with his onesie on. And the car he was driving was one of those fancy, you know, those new cars, the Tesla.
A Tesla Cybertruck, and it was wrapped as well.
Yeah, rap. I looked at it when I saw the news. I said, hey, it's great to have your money. We as black folks, when you're spending your money, you spend it any way you want. But if Don't you hear the man who owns that company talks about us, man? Man, come on, man. I can't drive. I don't care if I got all the money in the world. I ain't gonna buy that. His product. Hey, man, buy something else, man. You buy something, a Ferrari or Lamborghini or something. But don't buy that guy's stuff, man.
It's a very distinct vehicle, Radman. It's a very distinct look on there.
Yeah,
but I'm wondering, there would you
because of that?
Would you be caught outside there, Brother Bilal, in any type of a Pokemon anime-based onesie? I'm just wondering.
Nah, I'm, you know, and this is not one of those, you know, I'm gonna sound like an old head. You know what I mean? I am a millennial, but I guess millennials are the new old heads now because you know the whole. I really wish we would kind of, you know, let certain things, you know what I mean, in our, you know, in the culture, like get past them. And the pajamas is one of them. Like the pajamas is one of them for me. You know, pajamas have their place and their time. You know what I mean? And this not to say. So my kids are in school, and they have pajama days at school, and you absolutely we let them participate in all that. But again, there's a time and place for it, and you know, out and about, you know what I mean, just you know, in public for don't, you know, just like you, that's your normal day wear. That's inappropriate no matter, you know, I don't care what character, you know what I mean. I grew up a Voltron and He-Man, or I, you know, I don't know what the characters are now, is, you know, Batman or Marvel and MCU is huge. I don't care what the character is, you know what I mean. When you outside, you know what I mean, represent, and not for nothing. This is an important aspect of it for me. Is this young man knows he's only relevant because of who his parents are. Represent your parents well. My father used to tell me when I was, you know, when we growing up, and when you leave this house, make sure you representing, you know, yourself, your family, and your community well. Like you don't go out there. To this day, I was at a wedding. Last year, and somebody, you know, from a profile, they were kind of to my left, and I was getting some tea, some iced tea, and they said, I know a Smith when I see a Smith, and I looked over, and it was a table who grew up with my father, and around our family, they lived on the same street growing up. And they said, "Yeah, who belong to you? Who you belong to? We know those features when we see them." And the point I'm making with that is, you're out here and you're representing more than yourself. And if people see you and they can identify you with your family and not even know your name, it tells you that they know your family well enough to know not only what they look like, but what's expected of behavior wise. And if you're inconsistently representing behavior with what they know to be true about your family, then that I guarantee you would get back to your family.
Exactly there. So exactly, like, Brother Bilal.
Yeah,
and
so
it's one of those incidents. Yeah, you have to, and it's one of those incidents. When I saw the mugshot, I was just like,
"Ugh, brother, ugh, what's that? What's that, brother?"
Yeah, so it's one of those things that happen, but one thing that you always need while on the road is award-winning Miriam Rivera Insurance Agency. Make sure you have your auto insurance. They do auto, home, health, and life insurance over at 1038 Lau Ave or 511 Bean Road, Suite B. Give them a call, 585-360-0094. They helped our family out in Real Deal Sports Show. They could go ahead and help you out. But, you know, we have that theme is that folks end up being outside. But if you stay inside, dreams could end up being won and having come true there as well. And we saw that happening for two players at the NFL draft. And we have a special guest coming on. This guy, great content, by the way, handsome fellow. I hear he's engaged and also an international traveler. We have the one and only ace reporter, sports reporter, Carl Jones. How are you, brother?
Hey man, that introduction was too much. You ain't got lots of the good people like that. I'm regular degular, man. I'm regular degular. I'm all good though, man. I appreciate you. How y'all doing?
You're doing well, doing well, doing well. And like you said, you just like everybody else. Put your pants on one leg at a time. But
Amen to
we
that
have
one.
to be able to pick your brain there when it comes to some of these draft picks. Well, first, just in general, before we get to the Bills draft picks, were there any moves in the first round that really caught you off guard, or ones that really stood out there to you?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the first round in particular. There was a few that stood out. Obviously, the LA Rams taking Ty Simpson was definitely something that took me by back. Not because I didn't think he was a solid player. I think he is solid, but I mean, the LA Rams were yards away from winning the NFC title game, and Ty Simpson won't help them get any closer this season, at least, and do so. So that was a little shocking. I think the Jets taking a tight end in the first round when they just took one in the second last year was kind of shocking. Those were probably the two that stood out. What made me scratch my head a little bit, where I was like, I don't know the logic there.
And when it comes to Ty Simpson, I was in the boat where saying, hey, I think he would definitely get drafted. I thought personally that he was more of at most, because I know QBs do get pushed up. I thought at most he would be a day 2 pick. But when I saw him go day 1, it was definitely shocking there. We ended up seeing a whole run when it comes to offensive linemen there as well. Was that something that you thought was interesting?
You're never surprised when big people get pushed up the board. I mean, it is really hard. I had somebody tell me this years ago. It is really hard to find large human beings who are also athletic. Therefore, we have to get those guys as soon as possible in the draft. They go early and often. So anytime that you see 6, 7, 8 offensive tackles go early in the draft, just remember, think about how many human beings on the earth and think about how many of them are 6'7", 6'6", 300 pounds. We got to make sure we get them boys because it's just rare to find that commodity.
I agree. I agree there as well. And I'm going to have one more question before bringing in the Radman. Just want to know your thoughts before we get into the evaluation of the Bills pick, the first one that they had there in that second round. There was another player there that was on the board that was actually taken right after the Bills pick. Caden McDonald, that some people had there being mocked to Buffalo, kind of be that nose tackle, almost likened to a traditional one there, just to stop the run, take up 2 gaps. That's who I thought was going to end up falling there to the Bills. I also like the safety out of LSU, but that's a whole nother story. But just want to know your thoughts there on that pick there when it comes to the Bills passing on Caden McDonald.
I mean, the Bills clearly are telling us that's not a position that they value highly. I mean, because when you just look at the tape and who he is as a player, he's a pretty darn good player, and he was really good for the Buckeyes last season, really good, as you just mentioned, in the run game. Maybe he doesn't project as like an elite pass rusher by any means, but you are going to get a day 1 run stuffer. But the Bills are telling us, I mean, when we're going to go back years at this point, that that's a position they don't value highly, for better or for worse. I'm not saying it is right or wrong, but I go where the evidence tells me, and the evidence tells me they just don't believe one techniques are super valuable in the National Football League.
Good job, my brother. We rocking with you.
There we go. We heard that here, there, and Radman, I know you had some questions regarding that Bills first pick.
Yes, T.J. Parker. It seems the Bills love Clemson. Here they go again, getting another Clemson player. I thought of Shaq Lawson as soon as I heard the pick. I said, oh, man, here we go again. What is it? It seems like new coach, but still same philosophy, it seems, or somewhat similar philosophy from days gone by, from the McDermott era. What was Bean thinking about going with Parker, with T.J. Parker?
Yeah, so Brandon Bean addressed the local media yesterday. We were there, and it seems that he really placed a premium on T.J. Parker being a 3-down player. He said, like, hey, he's really stout against the run, uses his hands really well, and has potential to be a really darn good pass rusher in terms of his athletic profile. I'll just speak for myself here and maybe some other fan base too, where, okay, for the last X amount of years, they've been searching and acquiring these bigger defensive ends, a la Greg Rousseau, like Joey Bosa. Bradley Chubb is a big boy as well. Shaq Lawson, you just mentioned. A lot of these defensive ends are bigger players. Not saying they're bad players, but when you just look at their archetypes, okay, they're more powerful than bendy and explosive around the edge. So, I mean, I mocked a lot of players this draft because I'm like, oh, okay, Jim Leonard comes from a Denver defense where the guys were much smaller on the edge, but they were NASCAR drivers. They were track stars on the edge. And I think if you want any evidence to suggest that who's been calling the shots at certain positions over the last 8 years, it was clear as day last night that Brandon Beane is the one that really loves and believes that big 6'3", north of 260-pound defensive ends is the way you win in the National Football League. You don't, I mean, to this point, I don't know if that's a Sean McDermott thing. TJ Parker, I don't know his upside as a player, but if you're a person at home and you want to know what type of player you're going to get, stout against the run, you aren't going to be able to run his way. I don't know how high the ceiling is as a pass rusher. That remains to be seen.
Good point. Very good point. So some things never change or don't change in this era of McDermott being there. That's what it felt like. I was like, dog, is McDermott still coaching? What? Wait a minute. We got the same type of guy. But I do like the second pick. Ohio, any defensive back out of Ohio State, I'm with it. I like that pick. Your comments?
Yeah. I mean, anytime that you get one of my Buckeyes, first off, it makes it easy for me because I was one of the few people in the media room last night that knew how to say his name, Davison Igbinosun, young brother that I think he's a Jersey kid and then played at The Ohio State University. As a player himself, big, long, rangy, physical and press coverage, physical in the run game too. There is no Kool-Aid in his blood. All right, he is not scared at all to mix it up in the run game. So I want to give him his kudos and credit for that. Just very interesting though, because usually second round picks are players that you expect to start at some point in year one, and the pathway as it sits on April 25th for him to start is someone getting hurt, or his pathway to starting is him beating out the player that you just took in the first round last season. Because Brandon Beane did tell us yesterday he is not a nickel cornerback, and they don't view him as a safety either. They view him as strictly an outside cornerback. So I just find it very curious that you're taking a player early in the draft profile aside and who he is as a player aside. Just put that in a separate bucket. I'm not going to speak on Davison as what he projects as a football player on between those white lines. But in terms of the process of taking that player, his pathway as it stands today is one of two things. CB or Max getting hurt, or you don't believe in Max and you're giving up on your first round pick a year into his career. Right or wrong, not saying that it is. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but that's the process that they are clearly screaming to us at the moment.
Do you think that injury might be part of it? He's been injured twice now, Maxwell, from last year.
Oh, I'm sure that plays into it. I mean, you will be a fool not to take in every single piece of data and information throughout someone's career and not make decisions based off of it. And I don't think Max had some stellar rookie campaign either. I'm not going to sit up here and tell y'all that I thought he was Pat Surtain in year one. I'm not going to tell you that I think that brother's in the second coming of Derek Stingley. But I thought he showed flashes, and I thought that as a fan, you should be encouraged about Max Harrison heading into year two. But, I mean, once again, this isn't a pick with Davis and Igbinosun where you're like, we're going to get all three of those guys out there at the same time. None of those players have ever played nickel. None of them. Like none of them. So this is a position where Brandon Beane said time and time again yesterday. And he reiterated it, I believe, twice, maybe even a third time last night in his presser. Over the years, the Bills have been hurt because of their cornerback depth. If you don't look no further than this past January, where Trey White went out, Max wasn't available, and they had to put Dane Jackson on the field. And in that very first play, they attacked him in overtime. I mean, and I don't think that was second or fourth quarter. I forget which one. But yeah. And Brandon Beane made that obvious that you need depth. So I think that was something that was on the back of his mind when he ran in that card and made him the selection.
The Ohio State safety with cornerback that they put it. I'm trying to think of his name from last. They remember they benched him for that last. Yeah, they benched him, and if he would have been in that game, to me, that was a bad coaching move. He should have been playing, not only after the Jacksonville game, but he definitely should have been playing in the Denver game. You can't.
Jordan Hancock, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he showed promise in his rookie campaign. I mean, ups and downs as all rookies, especially fifth rounders. But yeah, he's on the roster going forward, and we'll see what role they have for him under Jim Leonard's new scheme.
Are there any players that you see coming up for the next Bills picks that you see as potential targets for Buffalo?
So that's interesting because if you look at the board right now, there are a boatload of wide receivers where you're like, oh, okay, they can use one. Having said that, when you just read the tea leaves on how they've been talking about that position this offseason, they are raving about Keon Coleman, and they keep saying, and it doesn't seem as lip service, doesn't seem like lip service. They keep saying they believe in the brother. They believe that he's turned a new page and that he's going to be much better going forward. They also signed Trent Sherfield to be a special team guy, whatever the case may be. So then now you already have a DJ Moore who you just traded for, a Keon Coleman, a Josh Palmer who was making a lot of money, as well as Khalil Shakir. That is 4 players right there. So that 5th player right now, is it a McCole Hardman? Is it a Trent Sherfield? There are a bunch of receivers right now, whether that is Bryce Lance from North Dakota State, whether that is Skylar Bell from UConn, Elijah Surratt from Indiana. Deion Burks is a small little twitchy dude from Oklahoma. So those are receivers I got my eye on. But if I want to give you a different position that I think the Bills could target today, how about a safety, that Jalen Kilgore from South Carolina, really liked his tape. I think that he's a damn good football player. And then Zakee Wheatley, another safety from Penn State. I mean, listen, fellas, the Buffalo Bills are picking early and often in this 4th round. They have the first pick, I believe, in the 4th. If I got it up right here really quickly, they have the first pick in the 4th. They also have 2 other picks in the 4th quarter, 25th and 26th. So they're going to be picking a lot today, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's safety, O-line, maybe even a punter. They need one of those.
Agreed on there as well as. Go ahead, Brother Bilal.
Yeah. So with the lip service, the Keon Coleman lip service, how much of that do you think is damage control from what was said, in the presser after they let go of McDermott? You know what I mean? Like, it's if you're planning to try to keep a guy on the roster, you know what I mean, and you said those kinds of things, you gotta kind of start saying or singing a different song, because I know for me, it would have, I would have been on the phone with my agent immediately, man, while in the middle of the press conference, like, you hear this, man? Get me out of here. So first question, how much of that do you feel like is damage control from what was said, following the McDermott firing?
If you would have asked me that question February 15th, I would have been like, it's all damage control. Like, at that point on the calendar, and based off the information that we had, I would have been like, yep, they trying to damage control what Terry Pegula just said to the whole world. And so that's where I felt. But as we get further removed from that day and the combine comes by and the free agency rolls through, and then yesterday's presser happens again, I truly believe that they think that Keon Coleman, they can get him on the right trajectory heading into his 3rd season. And when I think about Joe Brady in particular, he's a former wide receiver that played at the collegiate level. So there's some part of his heart that believes that he can relate to Keon Coleman as a football player, right? Someone that, all right, I can see, like, I'm a receiver myself. We can fix that. He also told us in the media a few months back that he was the one that stood on the table for Keon Coleman. So from a human level, like, hey, man, I feel responsible for this cat. I need to make this thing work. So you look at those 2 things, and then both of them coming out kind of unprovoked and just standing on the table for him. In the beginning, I thought it was lip service. At this point, no, I truly believe they have faith in him.
All right, and they traded back in the 1st round, and when they traded down, I felt like they were eyeing KC Concepcion and felt like they'd get him. And then when the Browns took him, they ultimately ended up trading down again and ultimately out of the 1st round. And I felt like it was because they thought they would get KC. he was now not there anymore. And now when they traded, they subsequently traded out in the first round. I felt like that was a byproduct of them saying the guy we wanted, where we wanted him, wasn't there anymore. Give any thoughts on that? Like, and them eyeing Casey Concepcion and just missing out on where they thought they'd be able to get him.
So Brandon Beane told us yesterday that there wasn't a player in close enough range for them to trade up. That's what he said. Now, once again, obviously he doesn't have any reason to be 100% truthful during the actual draft, but the Browns took Casey at 24. The Bills were sitting there at 26. So maybe it isn't Casey. I'm of the belief that there was a player. I mean, there is. I mean, when you have a board heading into the draft, there is a cutoff where you're like, all right, I feel comfortable taking this guy in the first round. Maybe it was Casey Concepcion where you're like, you know what? After KC, we got to get out of there. I don't know. You did see reports. Jordan Reed, the brother from ESPN, said that he heard that it was Casey Concepcion that the Bills were eyeing in the first round. Maybe it was, if I'm looking at the draft board right here, maybe it was Malachi Lawrence that went to the Cowboys at 23. He was the last player they had a first-round grade on. Heck, maybe it was Dylan Thieneman, the safety from Oregon, who got taken right before them at 25 to the Bears. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was KC, but the other two names I mentioned either, maybe those were the reason the Bills decided to get up out of there.
Do you think, Carl, the Bills are pick as we close? As you see, we're running out of time here. But do we have linebackers? I'm surprised that you think that linebacker position is kind of bare, especially going with a 3-4 defense this coming season. You see any guys come on the board?
That was shocking. Not to think that I thought they were going to pick a linebacker first, but it's pretty shocking to this point they haven't acquired one. I mean, there are some backers still on the board. I mean, you look at Kyle Lewis from Pittsburgh, very productive player for them. Deontay Lawson, also another one for Alabama. I mean, I got a name that, I'm sure a lot of Western New Yorkers are familiar with, Red Murdoch, that played for the UB Bulls. Probably will be the first UB linebacker drafted in this new pipeline that began with Joe Andreessen and Sean Dolak. There are some options, maybe some options that are a little bit more limited than like in the beginning of the second round, who you think guys can be plug and play starters. But there are some options, and I would not be surprised one bit if you see Buffalo Bills select LB blank later on today.
Yeah, almost have to.
Yeah,
they got to get going in that position, man.
They have to add some depth to that position, and we always want to say, sports reporter Carl Jones, thank you for joining us on Real Deal Sports Show, man. One of the best in the business, man. And where can people subscribe and follow you?
Yeah, man, for sure. I'm really doing a lot of my work on 3 platforms right now. My X, Twitter feed, whatever the cool kids call it these days, Jones11_. And then I'm on TikTok now. I'm meeting the people where they at now. TikTok, Carl Jones. I don't know the exact name, but you can find me on TikTok. And then my YouTube, I'm doing a lot of stuff over there as well. So those 3 platforms, find your boy in my work. And I appreciate y'all for having me today, man. All love.
Thank you. Look forward to having you
coming on.
Yeah, look forward to having you back. See what happens when people leave Rochester? They become internationally known.
Hey, man, I'm just a small fish out here, baby. I'm a fish out here just trying to swim. Love y'all. Y'all be safe, all right?
Take care. All right.
Beautiful. And after that, after talking so much sports, we end up feeling pretty hungry. So that's why we want to end up thanking our sponsor of that segment for Jamaican Soul Restaurant at 211 Genesee Street, featuring soul food Sundays. Now open noon to 9 p.m. on Sunday and 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. Thank you to Jamaican Soul Restaurant for sponsoring the Real Deal Sports Show.
1,000 people need to give $20. Close the doors. I said close them doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. Usher, close the doors. I said close them doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. Bring them baskets. Close the doors. Bring them baskets. This is easy, saints. This is easy. This is easy, saints.
And speaking of which, man, we have to move on to another major event that happened there. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. But we had WrestleMania happen last week, and we have the one and only WrestleMania professional wrestling aficionado. He's a jack of all trades. Sometimes we call him J-Jack. We have him, Jason Jackson, there. Thank you for joining us on Real Deal Sports Show. And as he's working through just getting some things situated on his end, it was a very interesting WrestleMania, gentlemen. One major thing that ended up coming on when it comes to the show was the ticket prices. So just for context, last year, they ended up having a sold-out crowd, record attendance, record highs when it comes to sales. And they were going to have WrestleMania in a different venue, but it ended up being back in LA. And something interesting happens that rumors started to come out maybe about 2 to 3 weeks before WrestleMania that ticket sales were down. I mean, when they jack up ticket prices as high as they were, people were hearing you get nosebleed seats for $300, $400. So something wasn't really there lining up. Something interesting wasn't there, right? And
y'all got
we
me?
just want to be able to get our yes, there, Jason Jackson. We want to be able to hear y'all and hear your opinion when it comes to some of these prices that they had when it comes to WrestleMania. What are your thoughts on that?
Going in and out.
Yeah,
You hear
going
me?
In and out. It'll come in and out.
Go ahead. You may be having a little trouble out there by the water, on the waterfront there, in his part of the country there.
Okay, you got me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
I'm working with a new laptop. So
New laptop, you got to stop by Rock Palm Brokers. They got plenty of laptops, man. Oh, you can't hear? You got to stop by Rock Palm Brokers and pick you up a laptop there. Those guys have
Okay, definitely stop by Rock Palm Brokers, but I'll go over there to you, Radman. When you
all right,
hear,
I'm on now. You got me?
We'll get
yes,
you,
sir.
but
Go
we'll
for
lose
it.
you.
Get you. He froze like Vince McMahon froze up, man. You gotta find Vince, man. He's looking like Vince, man. Froze up, trying to get his business back in order. Yeah. See what's going on.
He has to work
Unfortunately,
on
he has
that,
technical difficulties. But if he needs a laptop, swing by Rock Palm Broker there. Those cats will get you right. Sammy and the crew will get them right and get all your needs taken care of. Even got the layaway system. So check out Rock Palm Brokers. We broadcast live.
Brokers, they have those deals. And Rock Palm Brokers, they have those deals. So just want to know there, Radman, when it comes to the price of those tickets, we hear that floor seats can be just starting at $3,000 going up. What are your thoughts when it comes to those prices at WrestleMania?
Oh, that's what they do in Vegas. Vegas and Los Angeles, they charge big time money. They put those prices up there because they want that certain crowd to come in. Just like Super Bowl, it's not the regular season. When it's the Super Bowl, the WrestleMania is Super Bowl of wrestling. Then they want that elite crowd to come. That's why those prices are so jacked, so high, and they want that money. They want that type of crowd at their event.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And Brother Bilal, you end up being a family man. Just for you to be able to possibly bring, if you wanted to bring, let's say maybe your kids, your wife, etc., there to check out the whole event, it will cost you an arm and a leg. Well, unless you're a big baller like that, man. I ain't trying to count your pockets. But hey, what are your thoughts on those crazy prices that they were saying for WrestleMania?
Well, I want to come at it from the opposite end for real quick. I love that the ticket sales didn't happen like they wanted them to, because it was, for me, that was a message from the consumers. And consumers, we have the power to speak with what we buy and what we don't buy. So when we, as consumers feeling like the price were too high, the way to communicate that was to not get them. And furthermore, to say, listen, we're demanding a better product. If you're going to charge whatever you're going to charge, we want a better product. And we know since TKO was taking over, the WWE, that we haven't seen the same kind of product, on screen, as we've liked to, to see, So historically, and I think Radman made an amazing point last week that I want to jump on is you used to only have the top tier wrestlers going against one another at the pay-per-view level events, or maybe if anybody can go back and remember Saturday night's main event, those rare occasions where you'd see the top talent facing off. But now you see it. I mean, they were showing Roman Reigns they were showing all 11 or 12 of his headlining, and like 3 or 4 of them was against Brock Lesnar alone. Like you see those top tier talents facing off against one another so often that it's like what will I see this time that I haven't seen before? And so I think the actual headlining match, which was Roman Reigns and CM Punk, was a phenomenal match. If you did watch WrestleMania, it was an outstanding match, but it wasn't good enough to necessarily overshadow some of the other matches and what was I would say an average WrestleMania. Roman Reigns and CM Punk did their best to save that show, but that between that and the latter match, there weren't any matches that really stood out. And Brock Lesnar's retirement,
that's where I was gonna go there next. We saw the pass of the torch,
but it was the opening match. So you know what I mean. It was like a Tyson fight. If you got there, if you was like, okay, I get there late, I missed it. You know what I mean? He gave that fall from grace, and it was over. So yeah,
then we saw the Beast retire. Yeah, that was something sad. Whenever you see those gloves and the shoes go to the middle of the ring, and then you think about it, it's like, man, Brock, he's been through a lot of punishment when it comes to him and his body. Definitely, in my opinion, a future Hall of Famer. And let's see if we could try one more time. It looks like we have a wrestling aficionado back there, Jason Jackson, checking one and two, man. SOS, are you there, Jason?
All right. Yeah, well, aficionado, I'm definitely not a tech aficionado, obviously. So I apologize for the technical difficulties, gentlemen. How are we doing this morning?
Hey, no worries on that one, man. No worries on that one. Sometimes things happen and whatnot. But this one, no, generally, we were talking about WrestleMania. We talked about the prices. We talked about the show there. What was the number one thing for you that stood out from this now 2-day event, WrestleMania 42?
Well, the first thing that stands out to me is TKO, the company that pretty much owns WWE and UFC, that sports entertainment, combat sports conglomerate. They're about their money. They want to get their money. I think there was a big change from night 1 to night 2. It appears that people were very disappointed with the amount of ads and such on night 1, which is usually something that you don't see at a WrestleMania. They call it the granddaddy of them all. It's basically the Super Bowl of professional wrestling, and people aren't used to watching a whole bunch of ads and commercials during the event. Historically, usually time between matches is filled with, backstage segments. WWE, they usually do a very good job of putting together, video packages that promote the next match, telling you basically how they got from point A to point Z, which is the culminating match of a feud or something that they're having. But we didn't have that. Some of the entrances got cut off, and basically, I believe WWE TKO is doing that to recoup some of this money. They're paying all this money to put these products out, and they want to get some of it back. But outside of that, the action, night 1, not very memorable. I'm really thinking about night 2. A lot of star-making performances. I heard you guys talk about Obafemi, the ruler, the future of the WWE, in my opinion. He's somebody I had my eye on ever since he was, rising up in NXT. My man Trick Williams, he had a great showing. Trick and Oba, yeah, those are two guys that they really strapped a rocket to, and they want to see them do great things. And another brother, Javon Evans, he did not win his match, but he had a strong showing in a multi-man Intercontinental Championship match, a ladder match that was won by Penta, the Intercontinental Champion. My opinion on that is I think they kept it on Penta because as a Mexican, they want to maintain a foothold in Central and South America with our Latino viewers.
Yeah, quick question. I thought it was again. I thought Obafemi. I mean, he just had an amazing showing and loved how he's definitely set himself as a top contender for possibly challenging Roman Reigns. But in terms of the overall kind of night, what were some things that you felt like could have been done differently? What were some of the matchups that you might have, I was a little disappointed to see Jade Cargill lose to Rhea Ripley. Were there any matchups that you saw turn it out differently?
Well, the main event of night one, Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, this is a match where these two individuals have, a decade plus of history. Cody Rhodes, the son of Dusty Rhodes, Randy Orton, the son of Cowboy Bob Orton. These are guys that were in a stable legacy back in the day. And they really didn't utilize any of that backstory. Instead, they chose to insert, a celebrity like Pat McAfee into that storyline, and it didn't hit. Having all the interference, with McAfee and even Jelly Roll at the beginning of the match, it was something that it wasn't needed. These are two professional wrestlers, and they could have told an excellent story without all of that lanyap, as they would say in the bayou, all of that extra stuff. They didn't need that. So I think that was something that was probably a product of TKO wanting to put that extra in there to make sure your casual fans, people that aren't really into professional wrestling, to get them into the product. Oh, I know, Jelly Roll, fan of his music. Oh, I know Pat McAfee. I listen to his podcast. I watch him on College Game Day. That'll get me in. And then I believe WWE TKO, they feel like, oh, once we get them hooked,
yeah,
we can move from there. But
well, we got BacSpin coming in to join us right now, Jason. BacSpin, come on in and join the conversation. Jason, real quick, back in the day, Vince McMahon, when it's a war going on, where's the Iran wrestler? If Vince McMahon was running, he would have somebody hail and say, I'm the best wrestler, some guy hailing from Iran or Iraq or somewhere over there. Whoever the U.S. was fighting, he would always have a wrestler show up from that country that the U.S. was fighting, and everybody, they'd be the heel, and then they'll whoop it and win the title, and then it'd be all kinds of chaos. It's missing all of that creativity. Jelly Roll, get F Jelly Roll, man. Get him out of there, man. Hey, come on, man. Is he a rapper, a singer? What is he, man? He was R&B, hip-hop. Man, you don't even know who he is. BacSpin, come on in, BacSpin.
What up, fellas? How y'all doing?
I went to old school wrestling, BacSpin.
I'm a WWF kind of guy, me myself, man. The Bob Backlunds, the Rowdy Pipers, the Jimmy Superfly Snookers of the world. You know what I'm saying? Andre the Giants, the Hulk Hogans, you know what I'm saying? The Ted DiBiase's. You know what I mean? That's my era. That's when I love, wrestling the most. Them cage matches, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I can't forget about what's my man name, the Ultimate Warrior, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. Them guys was awesome, man, for real.
Yeah, well, they trying to get back to that, but as far as like a foreign heel or anything like that, I think with today's climate, and it makes me wonder, with their connection to the current presidential administration and way world
WrestleMania in
events
Saudi
right
Arabia
now,
next year.
Yeah.
right. I don't know if they want to go through making people in the Middle East a bad guy, because unfortunately, those are people with all the money right now. So they don't want to ruffle any feathers.
We gotta leave it there, fellas, man. Real Deal Sports Show never disappoints, man. I appreciate you guys every Saturday, 8 a.m. right here on the Beat 105.5. Have a great weekend and enjoy the rest of the draft, man.
BacSpin, real quick before we go, man. Gotta shout out, man. Rochester's old man, Casey Concepcion, getting drafted round one. And another one, if you don't know, now you know, Avion Terrell, who is the son of Andel Terrell Edison Tech's own. So, man, we, day one and day two, rounds 1 and 2, we saw Rochester, represented. So shout out to those young men and continue to represent, 585 at the highest level.
Yes, indeed. Now we in the NBA and the NFL. You know what I'm saying? So it's a beautiful look for Rochester.
Lakers in 4, baby.
Oh.
Look at Bron in the time machine, diving on balls in year 23.
Halfway, take a few steps back.
Hill money. Splash.
Yeah. He saved the game with a 3-pointer.
He did that.
He saved the game in regulation.
That boy is something special, man. He's something special.
He's the GOAT.
Absolutely. Y'all keep it where you need it. The Bag of Time Mix Show is on the way right here on the Big